Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're listening or watching this latest episode of VODCAST podcast. We're now on season 2, episode 3, with myself, Joseph Redmond, and of course my good friend Simon Towner. How are we doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you. You?
Yeah, all good. It's good that you can join us in all glorious standard definition this week.
Do you know what? It's the MacBook from Apple, and I like this MacBook. It looks pretty. It does everything I need it to do, but didn't realise that it didn't come with a front HD camera. Shit, that,
well, mine does. I've got the same MacBook. I think mine's just maybe a year or two younger than yours, isn't it? And mine's, no one wants to see me in HD, but they clearly can see me in HD. So maybe they just did it that year, where it just changed that year. But it's weird because
it must have done.
HD cameras on the phones for years.
I know, yeah, but I don't understand because it's not that old, this laptop. But there you go.
There you go, indeed. But yeah, nice to join us. Thank you for coming along. What have you been up to? Anything good?
No, nothing major. Got back to work. Obviously, started cutting the boys' hair again ready for the football season, which was amazing. It's amazing for me personally. That's all. No one else will be here.
I saw you did Eaton's hair as well. How is Tom? Everyone.
He's good. Yeah, he's still fighting fitness. I don't know what his expectation was, but he's not far off being back on the grass.
I know it's not exactly Burnley, but it's a little bit worrying for him on a personal level. I presume that Villa have just signed that keeper.
Yeah, I mean that's my opinion of it. Is obviously they need a keeper to start the season, and if he's not fit, then they have to get someone else because obviously Rayner's gone back, hasn't he? So I think that it's still up for grabs. He's still got the number 1 shirt. He came in when there was already number 1 and got that number 1 shirt off him, and he's still number 1 at the minute. So let's see how the season pans out. But hopefully he gets his chance back. He's at that age where he needs to be playing, and he's definitely good enough. We all know that as Burnley fans. No one's got any bad words to say about him as a keeper. He's definitely good enough to be a Premiership number 1. So hopefully it's back this season and not waiting another season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Moving on, just before we get started, a big shout out to our sponsors, Pitch Sports. As we say every single week, please go and download the app. It is available on the App Store and the Google Play Store. And you can go on, chat to other Burnley fans, chat to fans of other clubs, predict your teams, predict your scores, and even give ratings after the game. So if you haven't already, please do go and download that. Now you can see the banner at the bottom of the screen as we speak. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Please go and check them out. As you can see, moving on, I got the new shirt today.
Okay.
Got it. I actually quite like it.
It's well smart.
It just annoys me though, like how the negative reaction to literally anything. Now, when I think we've discussed it before, so we'll quickly go over it. But when it was on that coat hanger in a council flat, it looked shit. Let's be honest, it did look shit. Now it looks good. It looks decent. It looks good on the players. It looks even better on me. You know what I mean? It looks fine. It's a nice. I actually like the collar. Everyone slagged the collar off. I even went for a Prem badge this year. This annoys me though. That's not to do with the club. Remember when the Prem badges used to be actually decent? It's just sticking out. That's it. You can hear it. Shit.
It's apparently they're not the full size as well. Is that correct?
What these? I don't know. It does look a bit small now you mention it, but
apparently so.
One thing apparently I believe is they're a QR code. Now I haven't tried this out yet, so I might end up making myself look like an absolute fool here. They're meant to be a QR code these days. So how do you do it?
You just scan it. It's grabbed it. It's grabbed something.
It has grabbed it. Apologies if you listen on the podcast. Because this is terrible audio. It's a terrible radio, but it's good visual. But nothing's happening. So it's grabbed it. It has scanned it, but it's done nothing. So we'll try it again. Apologies if you listen on the podcast.
So anyone who don't know, Joe's got a 50p sticker size Premier League badge on the side of his sleeve, and he's trying currently to scan it. Come out a bit. Oh, you're not flat. You're not flat to it.
Oh, for God's sake!
There you go. There. Stop. Got it. Is it balls QR code?
It's not doing that now, is it? No, it's not a QR. I heard that once you scanned it, it like went to YouTube.
You won the Premier League.
Goals of that team or whatever.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, happy with that's what I got told, and I've seen someone on YouTube doing it, but it was obviously a load of bollocks. But where you going? Are you just deciding now you're going to fuck off or what? Is that it? You turn up late. You're on work to get on the show. You turn up late, and then when we're doing the podcast, you just randomly decide to walk off halfway through.
Yeah, hang on.
Apologies again to those listening on the podcast. he's just walked off. Now he's crawled back. He's just getting his Star Matt Loughton shirt. He didn't want to be outdone, obviously.
No, I'm doing the QR shit. Oh, fucking hell. After all that, I don't even have one on it. It has something else on it.
The BLM by any chance?
Yeah.
I wonder why I didn't mention it. We're all inclusive on Turfcast podcast.
No, because of that. Because you would say, you don't want to be outdone. I thought, here we go. You say, but look at the size anyway. Does that look different size?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. It's a bit. Can't really tell.
No,
don't know how close you are. Anyway, let's get chatting for those on the podcast, because those on the podcast have just had 6.5 minutes of absolute shite that they don't know what's going on. Quite a lot been going on today, on the day that we're recording, which is obviously Wednesday. Quite a lot's already gone on as well. We've got two games to discuss, 2 potential signings to discuss, and now an American takeover to discuss again after more news is brought today, which I believe I know that you don't know anything about because you've just told me. But let's get started. We'll go all the way back to the start of the week. Burnley won, Sheffield United won. Burnley win on penalties. Go.
Smashed it. It was a bad game. It was a poor game.
Your analysis.
It was a poor game. Burnley. I'll take beating anyone on penalties. It's a different sort of like buzz in it than just winning 1-0 or 2-0. Or winning on penalties is like an achievement in itself. So I'll take that. Were we convincing? No, but in the second team that we had, I was pretty content with it. Jimmy Dunn's got a couple of games. Obviously, we'll go into that one again. But disappointing thing is this cluster of games, and apparently it's like 3rd round, 4th round weekly, 5th round, and so on for the foreseeable. That's what I'm led to believe.
For the foreseeable, if we get into them rounds, yes.
If we get into them rounds. So to think that seeing Goodmanson come off in week 1 is a massive sort of statement in it of like the stress that this is going to put us under if we do a cup run. But everybody wants to see a cup run. Winning on penalties is the reason we want a cup run. We want that buzz about the season because we're probably not going to achieve things that we have done anywhere else other than a cup run.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I do want a cup run, and it's a shame that this season happens to be the season. You can understand why, because obviously the break and the season starting later. And
later.
And any potential sort of like breaks again could be coming up with any potential national lockdowns. So you can understand why they're doing it like that. But it's the first season in a long time where our squad has been so ridiculously threadbare that we're having to go into the under-23s to play against Millwall, which is probably going to be the case. Obviously, we're recording this on Wednesday. The game's on Wednesday night, so there's going to be no chat about the Millwall game other than the fact that we're going to mention it. And we won't be able to chat about it because it hasn't happened yet. But when you're listening to it, it has. But yeah, like I said, into the next round against Millwall tonight. Like I said, I'm not going to mention it, just mention it again. But we will quickly predict it. Looking like it's going to be a mixture of under-23s and first teamers. Fingers crossed Tarky gets a game. Fingers crossed he's back from Rome. Apparently, we were at Rome at 2 p.m. yesterday. It's obviously a load of bollocks.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Yeah, you must have missed it then. His missus, obviously, I know that you know and you do Air Force and stuff like that. She put a picture up. You know, like how you put all pictures up when you're on holiday and stuff. She put an old picture up at Rome, and Burnley fans screen captured it like, "Oh, he's in Rome. What's he doing?" I'm like, "Well, he's not in Rome, is he? He's not wearing a mask. He's got a coat on, for God's sake. It's September in Italy. He's not going to wear a coat, is he? Use your brain." But anyway, hopefully he plays, and hopefully we get a win. I'm going 1-0 Burnley, 2-1, something like that. It depends on the team, though.
I think we should win. The second team or first team should win against the Championship side these days. So I'll still go for a win. I'll put a 2-0 on there. I think we'll have enough defensively. If Tarky plays, definitely. But Tarky with the coat on, if I remember rightly, was the international break where he didn't get called up earlier in
all of them.
Yeah, earlier in this year, maybe.
There you go. It was just one of them where you just use a bit of common sense, and it's obviously not today. You can see there's crowds in the background. It's obviously not now. There's crowds in the background, that sort of thing. But moving on anyway, because like I said, I didn't really want to discuss the Millwall game in too much detail because every time everybody's listening to this, it'll already been on, and we could have got beat 4-0 and everyone's in a mood about it. Hopefully we've won though. Fingers crossed for that. But moving on, obviously Leicester City 4, Burnley 2. That was at the weekend. Thank you to all that watched the watch along on Sunday, was it? Yes, it was Sunday. It was me, Simon, who's checking Instagram, I think, Johnny Tate, and our good friend Quilty Debarra. on the watch along. Now we might have got beat, but we scored 2 goals, and we had a laugh on the watch along as well with some of the statements coming out from some of the lads on there, namely Johnny Tate. But yeah, Leicester 4, Burnley 2. If you've been listening, Simon, I don't know if you have or not, on your phone. Sum up that game.
Do you know what? I said it after the watch along. I knew where our frailties were. I knew what my concerns were before that game for where they were, and they were apparent. So everything else went as we scored goals, we played all right football, we got through it relatively unscathed, other than the Brady fractured rib. That's not a serious fracture, that's a slight fracture, but still a fracture. So
you'll know more about that. Apparently, it's that hairline that it's not any difference between that and a bruised rib. Apparently, that's what I believe. So therefore, it's not misplaced. It's just literally a hairline fracture. Yeah. So I've been told that it's
2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not that long.
There's loads of little things you can do, but it's whether there's you've got loads of muscles and ligaments and all sorts around your ribs that keep all your arms and that, and it's whether it just depends which rib and whether it's pulled anything off. That's what I've done before. Now I've thought they've done a normal X-ray, said, "Oh, you've not broke out," and then because I can't lift my arm, we zoom right in, and then there's a tiniest little crack, and that they'll say, "Oh, that will be why you got the stroke."
Yeah, I remember that. Didn't you? I remember you went to doctors once and said, "Oh, you're fine. You've not broken anything." You're like, "I'm telling you now, mate. I have." Zoom in. He zoomed in, and there you go, broken limb.
Well, that's it. But I'm sure he'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks. It's not a big thing. But the issue is, it's just the breathing. You can't breathe correctly, so it's the fitness is going to drop dramatically in a week or two, and not being able to run around properly.
Apparently, that's what Dash was saying in his press conference. He was saying we did notice that he wasn't running because he said he was struggling to breathe. So obviously, if you run, you get out of breath, you run faster, you breathe faster, your heart rate goes faster, and that's everything obviously in and around the rib area. And obviously, that's what he was struggling with. But there you go, biology on Turfcast.
Oh my God, I'm like Dr. Thingy on Lorraine.
You are our doctor now. You are the Turfcast doctor.
Yeah, well,
you're our expert on them.
2 to 3 weeks, he'll be back.
Happy days. Hopefully, we see Robbie Brady back in 2 to 3 weeks. But I want to mention Jimmy Dunn. Obviously, it was his Premier League debut. Got a goal. And apart from a mistake for their first or their second, which nobody really picked up on apart from us on the watch along, we all mentioned that what's he doing there? He's pretty much clattered whoever he were. Kevin Long weren't. It went through the back of Kevin Long when Kevin Long were, I won't say had it covered, but Kevin Long were jockeying.
Dealing with the situation, yeah,
or attempting to deal with it. Then Jimmy Dunn just goes right through the back of him. And I remember at the time thinking, what the fuck are you doing? But I on a whole, I thought he played well for a lad on his Premier League debut to say that this time only, last season he were at Fleetwood, I think he were.
Yeah, and got sent home from Sunderland.
Fleetwood,
Fleetwood sent him home, but I don't think Sunderland played him for a majority of the second part of his loan. And then, like you said, he's been thrust into the deep end. Like, hey, go on, defend against last season's Golden Boot. Let's not underestimate the power of Leicester's attack. So I think he did really well. We leaked goals without 2 players that we think should be in the England squad, in Ben Mee and Tarkovsky. So to survive as well as we did, I think it. You know what I mean? It could have gone either way. We missed a couple of chances, and I don't think they've created much more than the ones they scored. You know, where I thought, bloody hell, we got away with one there.
Yeah,
they just took the chances, and it's unfortunate. But I think Jimmy D did really well. Jimmy D, just nicknamed him.
Jimmy D, new nickname. It's like Sunny D, but Jimmy.
Sunny D, but less sugar. So Jimmy D, he did well, and I want to see him again tonight. I want to see him get momentum. I've said it before, I'll say it again. When Tarky fit in and Pope fit in and all them lot, it was like, you know, I remember Pope coming in thinking, my God, that's it, now season's over. And look where that ended up. So who knows where it'll bring us.
Yeah, it's one of them. He will only improve by being thrown in at the deep end. Hopefully, he plays alongside Tarky tonight, as you said, to get some momentum, and he can now play against, in our opinion, one of the best English centre-backs there is, and learn from him, and then learn the Burnley system, playing alongside a better player. No disrespect to Kevin Long, but someone who's played in the Burnley system a lot longer. And even if in the end, he isn't quite good enough to make it, Jimmy Dunn, because he's played 10, 15, 20 Premier League games, we'll make more money on him when we sell him to a high-end championship team.
Probably let him go for free at the end of the season. But he is, for me, that mistake that he made, what led to the goal, was purely adrenaline based. I mean, like you said, he's just gone charging through, took his eye off what's around him other than what's in front of him, clattered into somebody. It didn't seem like Long stepped in front of him or anything daft like that. He just seemed to just run it like a charging bull. So I think that's adrenaline sort of error, and them things aren't going to happen the more used to you get that environment. And the first Premier League, who can blame him for being overzealous and a bit like that?
Sticking with Jimmy Dunn, I haven't got it to hand, but I remember, I think Sean Dyche said in the press conference yesterday, he did well, but he's got a long way to go. Now, one of the questions I asked on Turfcast on the socials this week, if you don't follow us, please do, Turfcast Podcast on all your social media channels, is he good enough for the Premier League yet? And I'll ask that question to you now.
No, absolutely not. But I don't mind trying him, as daft as that sounds, but I want someone next to him like Ben Mee or Tarky. Unfortunately, you can't put two second-string players next to each other and expect them to do the same job. Yeah. You still need, like you said, that captain role next to him, the arm round his shoulder when it's not going his way, and the person to put his head back on when it's falling off. You know what I mean? It's just, I personally think him and Tarky would work quite well together because he's the left foot, right foot. We know Dyche likes that. Ben Mee's still not back yet through his illness or injury. I don't know which it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Ben Mee one's a strange one. There's nothing real to discuss because I don't really know what's going on with it. But obviously, he's been out for a while now. And obviously, he had the premature daughter during lockdown or just after lockdown. So I'm not sure if it's anything to do with that. Hopefully, everything's all right with Ben.
Not.
Yeah, hopefully everything's all right with Ben. And we see him back soon. But just focusing on the Leicester game again, we looked quite good going forward, didn't we? Like you said, we scored 2 goals against a very good Leicester side who are decent enough at the back. Admittedly, they do want to strengthen at the back. And we probably saw signs at the weekend as to why. But Dwight McNeil didn't even play that well. In fact, I thought Dwight McNeil was quite poor. So what was different with us going forward, do you reckon? Because I don't really know what it was.
I don't know, because like you said, Dwight wasn't that great. Brady got injured through, I don't remember what time he got injured, to be fair. When did he get injured?
First half, 30-odd minutes.
Yeah, so it's like we missed him for the majority of the game. That's what we're trying to work out whether... So, and then there's no Gudmundsson. So your major threats have gone. I'm getting more and more passionately sort of buzzing about Eric Peters. The job that he's doing, at one point, he was left wing because there was an injury to Brady. Then I've seen him in like a defensive midfield playmaker role, just sitting in front of the back four. I don't know whether they were lost or whether that was what he was meant to do. I don't know whether he just took a wrong turn on pitch. But he basically seems to fit every single role that he gets, and he's coming on and I'm thinking, oh, fuck it now. But then now, the more he's coming on now, the more I'm thinking, oh, it's right, so he'll sort it out, he can fill that gap. He's becoming the new Jeff Hendrick of filling in the gaps.
It's a good point you raise. I do worry when he comes on because he can get caught out, especially if he's playing further back. So if for example, he's playing at right back or left back as he normally does, I do get a little bit worried because he can be caught out. I think he was caught out a couple of times in the Peterborough game, but he also scored and got an assist, I think, if I remember rightly that time. But he is the ultimate professional, and it's an absolute credit to have him at the club. Like, every time he speaks in interviews, he's always saying about how he would play anywhere and stuff like that. He's happy to do so, and he always does a job. Might not be the best job in the world. He might not get you out of your seat, but he does a job, and yeah, it's a good point that.
But this is why I bring him into the conversation, because I think a lot of the threats came from sort of like that left position. And Chris Wood made a goal out of half a chance, and that's being sort of like positive about it. It were basically, I don't know how he got that defender off him, and then to do the finish he did against one of the world's best, Premier League's best keepers. That's what you've got to love about him. He gets 3 chances a game if he's lucky, and to come away with a goal like that, I think he's quality. And we missed one as well, so I think a lot of positives come out of it, even though we conceded 4.
It's another one to add to the Chris Wood is fucking brilliant list and stop slagging him off his set of idiots list. Because it's a ball in, and like you say, it's a decent enough ball, but the defender's there. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. The defender's got him marked. Chris Wood somehow strengthens him out the way. There's not a word, is it? That's not the correct word, but I didn't want to use the word push because the push is a foul. So I'm going to say strengthens. He moves him out the way. There we go. That's such a simple word. He moves him out the way, brings the ball down, and then smashes it in the bottom corner. He's class.
He's class. He is class.
Annoys me how people don't like him. But anyway, moving on. That's both the games done. Like I said, we won't talk about the Millwall game too much because it's tonight. We've done our little bit on that. And we'll have a look at the Southampton game later in the podcast. But now, moving on, quite a lot of things going on in terms of incomings and the potential outgoings. But what we will do first, we will have a look.
Sorry, mate, I don't think I heard that. There's quite a lot going on.
There's quite a lot going on. There's quite a lot going on. I'm not sure what's gone on at Burnley Football Club. Someone's possibly kidnapped Mike Gorlick and is, impersonating him.
I've heard Matt Riggs come off furlough.
That's gone down. That's what it is. That's probably what it is, yeah. But obviously, every week I upload a fan time video to the to the Pitch Sport app where I ask you, the fans, a question on sort of like certain things happening and things like that. Last week, I asked you where you think James Tarkowski will be when the transfer window closes. Now, I asked you last week, didn't I, Simon? And I think you said, you don't know anything. I don't know. I promise you, I know nothing. I don't know anything, but I think he's going. Still sort of that same sort of thing because it's quieting down a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's quieting down, and fingers crossed that we're going to get away with this transfer window. If you can survive till January and get players back and then have more time to invest in the recruitment side of it, that would be the perfect scenario for all of us, I think, if we could just drag it out till January. But I do think the way the market is these days, there's not been any major sort of 40, 50s in these sort of teams that are looking at him. There's not been any of that, really. If certain offers come from certain clubs, I do think it'll be hard for us to keep hold of him. But as a Burnley fan, I want to keep him. As his hairdresser, I wish him all the best, whichever way it goes, to be honest.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I sometimes wonder, though, because sometimes this happens, doesn't it? Like, you'll see clubs come in and show loads of interest. Then it goes quiet for a bit. Then bang, a couple of weeks before transfer market shuts. They come in, they bid, then they go. Like, it could be happening with Sancho at United, maybe. You've seen it happen with these sort of deals and stuff before. So hopefully it's not the quiet before.
We've seen it. Do you know who does? They used to do it to us all the time. Is Spurs. They'd bump us up, so that it's like they had a plan all along. That they just set the benchmark. Right, this is the bottom line, basically, because Spurs give us that. And then it seems to be, I think that's what the West Ham scenario is. I think that's always just going to be a bottom line. I don't think it's going to be an offer that we take.
Yep, fair enough. So anyway, as I said, I asked this question on the Pitch Sport app this week, and your responses are: FPL Clarets has been in touch. He says, seeing as it was apparently in Rome on the day we were meant to play Millwall, I'll say he's probably off. I know you listen to the podcast FPL, but I can tell you now he wasn't in Rome. Robbo, which I think is Lindo's new name, says, as soon as a club with European football bids over £30 million, he's gone. If Leicester bid 40 million, I'd expect to see him go. Yeah, I think if Leicester bid 40 million, I think it's fair to say that he's off. Nathan Rogers says, I think the club will price him out of any possible move, if I'm honest. As much as I like Tarky, but on the flip side, I would not be happy if we paid 50 million. Sorry, would I be happy if paid 50 million for him? Probably not. Friend of the podcast and watch-along regular Neil Layfield says, don't think he'll leave until January at the earliest. Johnny T, which I think is Johnny Tate, says, Robbie Brady will be player of the year. That's not relevant, Johnny. But then also says, yes, I think... He didn't really write that. I'm just throwing him under this. Says, yes, I think he... Well, he just puts yes. So thanks for that, Johnny. Yes. Can you elaborate next time, please, mate? But thanks for the response. Just elaborate next time. And finally, Burnley FC later says, if Dash... I'll start again. Put my teeth back in. If Dash thinks he'll stay, I think he'll stay. Fair enough. I mean, it's not that Dash is pushing the narrative.
If Dash what?
If Dash thinks that he will stay, I think that he will stay.
Yeah, I get it now. Nah.
No?
No.
Dash plays the media very well. I think it's fair to say. Dash knows what he's saying in press conferences. He's not going to sit down and go, yeah, he's fucking going. And what a see you next Tuesday is for that as well. Because then everyone will be like, well, that's just panic stations. Oh, my God. He's gonna push the... And you wouldn't want him to. He plays the media well, and I like the way he does it. I wouldn't want him to come out and say all that. I want him to lie to me. I want him to pretend it's all rainbows and lollipops when it isn't. Because if he told me that the Jimmy McIlroy standard falling down, I'd be papping my pants for the season ahead. But you look like you want to say something.
Read out the Nathan Rogers one again, please.
Did I read too fast for you or something?
No, it's just that I want to make sure I get it right before Say what
I think the club will price him out of any possible move, if I'm being honest. As much as I like Tarky, but on the flip side, would I be happy if paid £50 million for him? Probably not.
That is, to me, bang on. I don't think there's a better way of putting it. I think the only way we will keep Tarky is if we outprice him from the rest. It's not that we expect 50 million. It's not that we're putting down a gauntlet saying 50 million, you can have him. I think we're thinking no one's going to pay that. That we thought that would be, no one offers 25 million and we say 50. That's not the way negotiations work, really. They said that to price him out, and I think that Rodgers has got it right there. And I think, would I be happy signing Tarkovsky at Burnley for 50 million when you probably could get 2 or 3 different types of players, granted, but it's a lot of money to spend, isn't it, on a player, £50 million. So I do think it's been put down to outpricing.
So anyway, let's talk about people potentially leaving, and more talk about people coming in. On the day that we're recording, Wednesday, the news brought this morning by the bellend that used to always slag Burnley off. The bellend that used to always slag Burnley off from the Argus, who's now moved to the Athletic. Andy Naylor, I think he's called. He's the Brighton and Hove Albion reporter. He brought the news this morning that Dale Stephens is pretty much joining Burnley. He is having his medical today, the day that we're recording, in the capital. I presume, obviously, with Burnley playing down at Millwall, the club officials have gone down and just booked an hotel or whatever you need to do for the medical. And that's happening today, apparently. So that should be confirmed over the next couple of days. What are your thoughts on this signing then? Obviously, Dyche wanted him a few years ago. Now, I've got some reservations about this, not on his quality, but it's not something that has really done the rounds on the Burnley socials, so I'm not sure many people are aware of it. But obviously, Burnley tried to sign him a few years ago when we first got promoted to the Premier League, when we beat Brighton and Hove Albion to the league title. Brighton ended up finishing third and failing in the playoffs. Brighton then went up the year after. During that summer, though, Burnley made 3 or 4 bids for Dale Stephens. Dale Stephens even put in a transfer request because he wanted to come. Brighton held firm and he stayed at Brighton. Now, the year after Brighton went up, I think they won the league. I can't remember. It's not really relevant. But apparently, and I'm not seeing any video clips of it, but several people who support Brighton have said it's true. And apparently at their parade or promotion celebrations, whatever it were, Brighton fans were singing like Burnley's a shithole or whatever. And he joined in with it and got the microphone apparently and said something like Burnley's a shithole, I was always going to stay. So I'm a little bit disappointed with that. But Joey Barton called us all clampets and looked how that worked out. So he's going to have to win us all.
Doherty,
the Arsenal
first one, isn't it, with the Arsenal?
Well, I mean, it's one of them. You look at it and you think you're a bit of a dick for that, mate. But I'm not really gonna hold it against you.
Well, I think that it's cool that we're at that stage now that clubs are that arsed about us, they're singing songs on their victory parade.
Well, they were 4 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years ago. But thoughts on the signing then in general, then, mate?
I think it's a great signing. I think if it's true the value that we're paying for him, we're at $1 million rising to $2.5 million. I read.
Yeah.
If that's true,
it's like 150% rise. That's weird. It's the size of the potential rise is pretty weird in that for me. I've not got any problems with it. I just think it's just unusual. Like £1 million rising to 1.5 or 2 million rising to 2.5. No, it's 1 billion rising to 2.5. It's just a bit weird. I just found it weird.
Any player with Premier League experience at £2.5 million, whether it to be just a squad player or not, is a bargain. And that's the way you've got to look at it, I think, as Burnley fans. I think he's a Westwood sort of role. You've got Jack Cork, who's injured, and you know, it's been said before that he's probably not at his best at the minute, whether that's just a form thing or what. And then you've got injuries. Injuries are plaguing this squad, and I think that even if he was just to sit as a squad player, which I doubt he is, I think he'll be one to fit in the squad, to be honest with you. I think he'll want to try and get in it. I think Dash probably wants to try and get him in it. Who he gives up for that spot is the next argument, but I think it's a bargain for $2.5 million.
Yeah, there's a lot of people moaning about it. Typical Burnley fan fashion, a lot of people moaning about it. But, as you say, for £1 million, even for £2.5 million, for a central midfielder who, I'll disagree with you slightly, I think he's probably going to be back up, is a decent buy. I think he's going to go in there and he's going to be, you know, he's coming in with the Premier League experience. He's a type of player that you see and you think, yeah, he'll fit the Burnley mould. He'll fit the Dash way of playing. He'll fit the Burnley mould. But then you're going to have a midfield four of Ashley Westwood, Josh Brownhill, Jack Cork, and Dale Stephens, who can all play in the centre.
Yep,
that's decent. That
I think it's a great setup. That I think, especially at the minute when you've got no wingers, I think it won't be the worst to have extra sort of like centre midfielders that could have probably push out. I think Dale Stephens has played on the left, if I remember right. I might have made that up though. But he's, I think he's a bargain. I think we just need to get people, even if Tarky doesn't go, who's the Watford centre of Dawson? I think people like him, the money that I've heard going around for him, like a couple of million, I don't understand why you're not buying these players and building this squad depth for, because you've got Ben Gibson who's just left. Get these people in.
Yeah, we had this debate last week, didn't we, about Dawson? Apparently, he had a bit of a shocker last night against Newport. I didn't see it, so I can't comment.
I put Newport on my coupon.
The new Turfcast Discord channel was rife with comments about Dawson and how shit he was. Thanks to Quilter. A big shout out to those, by the way, who have joined the Turfcast Discord. Simon joined it, but he's still not been online. We've got Quilter in it. Even Neil Layfield joined it. He said he had to learn it and found out what it was all about first before he joined it. So shout out to Neil for doing that. We've got a lad called Christian in there as well. And we just chat about things, Burnley Football Club and stuff about the podcast. So that is good. But I want to go back to your comment.
It's a modern day forum, guys. I essentially that,
That's the way I looked at it. Essentially that, yeah. But just before I was rudely interrupted, I was going to say, I want to go back to your comment about him potentially coming into the side. Now, that's an interesting comment, and I think we can't just ignore. Who do you think, then, that he's going to replace? Because you've got Weston Brownhill doing all right in there. Like you say, you've got Jack Cork, who's probably a third choice, I'd say, now, even when he's back from injury, because he has to come back in and then show decent form, which he hasn't done for about a year and a half now. So I think Jack's probably going to be on the bench for the majority of this season. However, Brownhill can play on the right. And when Hendrick was injured last season, I think Brownhill did play on the right at some point last season, didn't he, when he first came? And then after another injury, he slotted back into the middle as well. So what would you do there with them for?
I personally think, like I said it sort of briefly, that because of the winger situation, I think some of these centre mids will move outwards onto the wing. I wouldn't mind seeing J-Rod, you mentioned it over there, on the left wing again, if needs be, because now Barnes is back. I think that's an option. But I personally think that, not that I want any of this to happen, I'm not saying that, get Brownhill out, but I think Brownhill would be his first choice to remove a player first. Do you know what I mean? Like if he definitely thinks, no, Dale Stephens is definitely one of the best midfielders we've got, he's going in, I think Brownhill would be the weaker, the more vulnerable.
I think Brownhill might be pushed out to the right because Brownhill. I'm not saying it, I think Brownhill's more versatile, especially than Westy. I can't comment on Dale Stephens because I've not seen him yet. I think he's more versatile than Westy in the fact that Brownhill could probably play on the right. And so you might see for a while until we sign a winger, Westy, Stephens and Brownhill on the right with White on the left. You could see that as a midfield four, I think, going forward for the next few weeks.
I think so. I think, like you said, Jay might drop back on the left. I'd like to see McNeil sort of more number 10 role. I've said it a million times. I won't go into it again. I'd like to see that, and then maybe put your Brownhill on your right hand side. But you know what? There's going to be some mad shit happens this next few weeks if these injuries keep going the way.
There you go. You heard it here first. There's going to be some mad shit happening.
If this carries on going the way it's going with all these injuries, you'll end up seeing Lawton on right midfield. You'll see Bardsley at the right back. I mean, we all know Lawton can deliver, so it might not be the worst decision. And then you've got J-Rod might be on the left wing. You've got Barnes coming back. It's going to be some, and then these signings wanting to fit in. There's going to be some movement in positions, I think.
Speaking of Lawton, obviously we mentioned it on the podcast last week that I want to get a shirt signed. I went into the club shop today, and as you can see, bought my fresh new shirt. Asked about that shirt. They said they can't do it because of the current coronavirus situation, meaning if someone brought something back,
fair one.
The shirt would have to be quarantined. Can you imagine sticking a shirt in quarantine? That's ridiculous. So if I took one of last season's shirt back to them and just said, "Hey, can you put Lawton on this? Sorry, Lawton on this. Don't want to get it wrong again. Lawton on this for us." They'll have to quarantine it for about 2 weeks first before they can do it. That's
mad, isn't it?
It's mad.
It's true though, that, because my kid has to read a reading book from school. And he brings one home, and then it has to go in a box for 48 hours before they can give it out to another kid.
So what happens? Does all the potential disease on it within the 48 hours and bacteria die, or what? I'm not so. You're the doctor. You're the podcast doctor.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, that's what happens.
Yep, fair enough. But yeah, speaking of mad shit could be happening, And again, this is one that you weren't aware of until I mentioned it to you off air. But news has come out of nowhere today that Burnley are apparently quite close to signing Harry Wilson. Now, as I said, this came out of nowhere and is developing all the time. I don't want to go full Jim White on everybody, but this one is developing all the time.
I get my raincoat on and stand outside.
Just got a text off Johnny Tate saying Harry Wilson. That's all it says. That's how much it's developing. And then he says,
that emoji next to my name?
It's a disabled symbol, mate, because you're disabled. And then he's just sent another one saying he's got a semi. Just thinking about it. So there you go. Thank you for the text, Johnny Tate, as we were recording the podcast. Good content, Johnny Tate. This is what Johnny Tate brings to the family. This is why I'm happy I got him on the watch along. But anyway, just as I want to say
I don't even say his name.
Oh, that's poor from you. That's poor form. But anyway, as I've been trying to say before, really interrupted by Johnny Tate and then Simon. I've come out of nowhere, this one, developing all the time. The original tweet came out from a guy at PA, which is a news agency. And then James Pearce, who I believe is from the Liverpool Echo, tweeted it. Now, he's quite a reliable source because he's got quite good contacts at Liverpool Football Club. But then Chris Borden, who's obviously the Burnley Express reporter, has come out and sort of like rebuffed it a little bit and said it's just an inquiry for now. It's not reports of it being close aren't untrue. Now, I think this will be a decent signing. I'm not going to go I'm not going to go full Johnny Tate and get rock on for it. I'm not going to do that. I think it's okay. I worry about his quality on the ball in game time. I think he can sometimes get caught in possession or panic, but his set pieces are an absolute dream.
I think it's a great sign. I think it's a definite must signing. We argue about this many a times of what kind of things that we need to do to get to that next level as Burnley team and what kind of players we want to attract. It's all right, we want all these workhorses because that fits the Burnley mould, but sometimes you need a bit of flair in there, and Dwight McNeil brings that, but we can't rely on him all season. I think someone like Harry Wilson would be a perfect sort of acquisition. My only concern is what will Dash do with him.
Well, this is another debate, isn't it? Like, the chances are he's going to sit on the bench for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, start getting frustrated because he's not fitting into the Burnley mould. Like, basically, if he doesn't track back, he's fucked. And according to some of the people on Bournemouth Twitter accounts, like fan pages and Liverpool fan pages, apparently he's not very good at tracking back. And as mentioned, he can lose possession and things. You don't lose possession in the Dash team. And if you don't track back, then that's it. You're pretty much fucked. So he's got to learn how to fit into the system. It's how long that will take, which is a worry.
Yeah, it's this kind of signing as a fan you want to see, but I agree with all the concerns that you're saying. I don't know if it fits the Burnley way, but maybe we need to break that mould.
Maybe. I think, like you say, Dwight. I don't know what's wrong with today.
It's Dwight and Ish.
Yeah.
A little bit of Dwight.
Dwight didn't fit that mould at first. I think Dwight, Sean's put the shackles on him a little bit recently, and that's why he's not managed to get as many goals and stuff last season as he did the season before, playing a lot less time. But yeah, imagine Dwight McNeil on the left, Harry Wilson on the right, Chris Wood in the middle with them deliveries. Like Football Accumulators, which is a Twitter page I'm sure you're aware of. Majority of listening to this will probably be aware of that page. But they actually tweeted this themselves. I'm just getting the tweet up now because I've just had a notification about someone liking it as I shared it. Burnley have made a move for Liverpool's Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson on Burnley's set pieces is going to be deadly. Obviously, they're referring to Chris Wood being in the middle and Tarky, fingers crossed, up top, and Benby and stuff like that. And even now Jimmy Dunn, who's shown he's got a good head on him. So if you've got Dwight on one side, Wilson on another, pinging balls at Chris Wood's head, Chris Wood's going to get 40 goals this season, I'm telling you.
Can I just say as well, on that note, people that want Tarky to stay, these are the type of signings these players need to see to think that they're going to get progression within this club. This is a big sort of picture. I said it to the wife yesterday. I was looking at loads of people are looking at Brewster at Liverpool, and I'm saying to her, I said, there's City, Liverpool, United, all near us. They won't even have to move out. They've got players that can't even get in the bloody dressing room, never mind the squad, like Shaqiri and all these like that. Surely we are desperate now, and there's no secret about that. We are desperate for numbers, but there are unbelievable players that we forget play for these clubs, like I said, Shaqiri earlier, that surely we can get a loan and pay half the wages or whatever that would be equate to being fitting in our wage bill.
Yeah, and obviously your point is that Harry Wilson fits this.
I think so. I think he's someone I didn't even think of when I was mentioning it. I would, like I said, these are the type of players that you forget are available for somebody to loan. And Liverpool have got a serious squad of. They've got 2 squads, haven't they? Man City have got 2 squads. Surely there's 1 or 2 we can pick out of each one of them.
Yeah, well, you'd think so, and hopefully we get this one over the line. Like I said, it sort of like went full circle in the space of 45 minutes. The guy who originally broke it saying exclusive, Burnley looking at Harry Wilson. Then, as I've mentioned, James Pearce from the Liverpool Echo, then sort of like backed it up, and he's a good source, is that guy. When it comes to Liverpool, he gets a lot of stuff right. But then Chris Borden, 45 minutes since the first tweet, after all the Burnley fans on Twitter, Clarets and on Turfcast all got excited, Chris Borden just went, there's a burden. You're not having him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an inquiry. But I don't want to. I always remember one thing that Chris Borden did a few years ago when all this news are breaking about Burnley could be signing Joey Barton. Burnley could be signing Joey Barton. Now, I like Chris Borden. I think he's a very good reporter. But he tweeted an article which said rumours that Burnley could be signing Joey Barton are wide of the mark. And I think like 2 days later we signed Joey Barton. So that was actually right funny. So fingers crossed you've got another one wrong this time, Chris. I know it's rare, but fingers crossed you do get this one wrong again. But obviously we're hoping it's going to happen.
I'll do, yeah.
Southampton game then. Let's look at the Southampton game. Now, fingers crossed, I have got a Southampton chap on the pod, which I'm interviewing in 25 minutes. So I'll have to go upstairs and change my talk to make it look different. Now, I won't do it because obviously that's just giving the secret away now. I've told everyone, so I might as well do it here. So I will go more into detail with him on the Southampton side of things, but let's have a look at the game itself with you, Simon. Burnley-Southampton at the Turf this weekend. Saints did look to have kicked on after a poor start last season. I remember in the summer, a few people were thinking, Southampton might do well. They might finish in the top 10, top 12. They might push on. Obviously, Danny Ings scored a lot of goals. If he can take that form into this season and things like that, they're going to be a threat. But they've lost 2 games so far this season.
Yeah, Ings looks strong against Spurs. I watched the Spurs game the other day, and he still looks like he could score at any point. He's that good. But as far as Southampton went, the third of that game got, the worst they got. I mean, they've got no plan B. As soon as Spurs knew what they wanted to do, once they got 1 goal in, it was like a leaking tap. They just could not stop that ball over the top. My concern is we haven't got that sort of through ball quality that they have. So if they play a high line against us, it's very difficult for us to sort of take advantage of that. We prefer sort of like playing against teams that sit, on a counter-attacking, but more of a set piece. I personally think that we should still have enough to beat them. Looking at the way they played against Spurs, they were dreadful, mate. And I don't think any Southampton fan will tell you different. They were awful. It was embarrassing because they just weren't. The obvious pattern was not getting stopped. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
It's all right going forward, and that's that. As you say, that's my concern. They were poor against Palace, though. They were really poor against Palace, and I see Palace as a similar side to us. So if they can't break Palace down, they're going to struggle breaking us down, I think. But I do see it as a tough game. I am looking at this one. I had a chat with a Burnley fan at work yesterday. Like called Stu. He's in his 60s, so he's an older chap. Good lad. But I kind of feel like I'm not going to say the term must win because that'd just be stupid. But if we get beat against Southampton, we're going to start getting to the point where if we lose a couple more games after that, then we're getting left behind.
Serious.
So I'm not saying must win at all, but we need a performance. I think we
must win.
We need a performance, and we need. We rarely lose to teams outside the top 6 at home. I know it happens. Obviously, you can give me examples where it's happened. I know it does happen, but it rarely does happen. So I don't know. I think with everything going on around the club at the minute, it might be just good to get a point on the board. I think. So if you offered me a point now, in fact, no, I'm not going to take a point. I'm going to risk it, but I wouldn't begrudge a point. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm going Burnley win. I think we should have more than enough. I do think they could possibly score against us. So for that, I'll probably go 2-1. But I won't be surprised if we score more. But I'll go safe for 2-1.
Yeah, I'm not going to predict a draw. I am going to go for Burnley win. I do think they'll score though. Like you say, they've got Danny Ings. And we're a bit suspect at the back at the minute because of all the changes and stuff. Like, it depends on the team again. If we have Jimmy Dunn and Kevin Long, we could get beat. If we have Tarky in there, fingers crossed alongside Ben. I don't really, like I said, I'm not really sure what's going on with Ben. Apologies if I missed something, but I'll have a look on the Physio Room website later and see if it is a knee injury or something that I've missed. But fingers crossed. It's Tarky. If it's Tarky and Ben, we win the game. I'm telling you now. If it's Tarky and Ben, we win the game. But yeah, I'm just a little bit worried about the defence. But yeah, it's one of them. Going forward, I think we'll score, but I also think that they'll score.
Score.
I'm going 3-1.
Thank you. Yeah, there we go.
3-1 Burnley. I'm going to say 3-2, but that's if we have Tarky and Ben me. If we don't, then I'm going 2-2. Desmond.
Bam.
Right, there we go. But anyway, it's time to look at Southampton game again and get the Southampton angle with the guys from the Saints Prime podcast. And I am joined now by Ole and Micah from the Saints Prime podcast. How you doing, lads?
Yeah, good.
Not too bad. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And as we were just saying then off air, you're both wearing claret. I like that.
Yeah. We said it's not planned at all. It just ended up happening. I was thinking, hey, we're well prepared, aren't we?
You're matching me, and now you're matching the little background I've got up as well. So, like you say, we're all colour coordinated, so it's absolutely perfect. As you mentioned, as I mentioned, just want to get the Southampton view. We've just talked about the Southampton game with myself and Simon, but before I get on to sort of like the season and things like that, because obviously we're only 2 games in, so there's not really much we can talk about really. I want to talk about some of the summer signings as well. Obviously, Kyle Walker-Peters came in the summer from Tottenham, I think it was. It looks a decent bit of business. He's a fullback, isn't he? I don't want to say. I think he's fullback. Sometimes players move positions, and I'm like, oh, he's a winger. I'm like, no, he's a fullback now. Like, when did that happen? But yeah, he's still a fullback then. But yeah, it looks a decent bit of business from outside looking in. Anyway, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, when he came in, I'll go. When he came in at the end of January, wasn't it? He didn't get a lot of game time after lockdown. He started playing really, really well, and we needed a good right back because Jan Valery was making a lot of mistakes. And he came in, he was brilliant, and now he started this season. He's made a couple of mistakes in the first 2 games, and we're just thinking, is this happening again? Is this another one of our signings that have come in, made a fantastic impact, and then 4 or 5 games down the line, that's when they're really showing what they can do, and it's not happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, he looked all right when he was on loan, and I think the reason why Saints fans were excited to kind of keep him permanently, because on the other side at left back, one of our probably longest servants, Bertrand, did the same sort of thing with Chelsea. So he came in on loan for, I think, was it 6 months or was it the season, Mike? I can't remember.
I think it was supposed to be for the season, but we signed him after 6 months.
Yeah, so it was. I think Saints fans are trying to think like that and think that like he came in, he gave a really good performance, and we kept him on, and we definitely did need a right back. Mike was right in the fact that Valery was making a lot of mistakes. He was our kind of youth prospect that we're bringing up to kind of play there, but he didn't really cut it. So he looks all right. I want to try and fingers crossed he will kick on.
And there's a lad from Valladolid as well. I'll be honest, I don't know much about him. What do you think of him so far, that signing?
Salisu hasn't played yet.
No.
He hasn't played.
Is it one of them signings that Burnley do, where they bring someone in, they make a big deal about it, and then they're like, oh, at the end of the paragraph, he will be playing for the under-23s. Is it one of them?
Hopefully not, because we do, again, we need to strengthen defensively, and that's what Walker-Peters and Salisu would hopefully be what they are doing this season. But no, he hasn't played pre-season, he hasn't played in the 2 opening games, and our manager said that he is looking of being played at some point. You just have to learn the system. And a lot of our signings that have been brought in under Ralph, they have taken about a month or 2 to actually get into the first team because they have to learn how to play how he wants to play.
Yeah, sounds very similar to Dyche. That you bring somebody in and you don't see him for 6 months. You've got to learn the Dyche system and the Burnley way.
I mean, hopefully we'll see him quicker than 6 months because both of our centre backs look pretty dodgy at the moment. So, I mean, hopefully we can get him a bit earlier. But yeah, Ralph's system seems pretty complex to learn. So yeah, it might be similar in the fact with Dyche, but yeah, I think he will take. He was quarantining as well for 2 weeks, so we didn't actually get the announcement till 2 weeks. I mean, it was pretty much signed and done on Twitter, but we were waiting about 2 weeks for the actual announcement. So he has been quite behind in the back. So I think, is it October international break? I think fans are thinking we might kind of see him from then onwards. So I think that's what we're trying to wait for. But he definitely won't be featured in the Burnley game.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed for you on that then. I do want to chat about the season a little bit. You've not had the best of starts, 2 defeats.
At least.
You kind of expect it against Tottenham, but I didn't watch it, I'll be honest. But I was driving home from work and my friend was practically commentating on it. And he was saying, Southampton look good here. They look good going forward. Ings is doing well. He's getting on the ball and stuff. But then it all just seemed to go tits up, didn't it? For some reason, again, I know you've mentioned your defensive frailties. I'm probably sure you're going to pin mark that again, saying that was the scenario why you lost. But it was a weird game.
Yeah, it was. Yep. It was a really strange game. Do you want to go first, Mike, or me? I don't mind.
I don't mind.
Okay. Well, I think the one thing that first half was fine. Like I'd say, trying to be unbiased, we were probably the better team. They had one moment of a really good possession where I think Ndombele turned on the ball, picked out a man, and they got behind and put it in. Son finished it quite well. McCarthy probably could have done a little bit better in coming off his line. But 1-1, I think, we looked better in the first half. But I think Mourinho basically saw how high we were pushing up. And it seems like Ralph's definitely pushed the line up more than we were in quarantine. In that kind of end of season, he seems like he's definitely pushed it up, and he's wanted McCarthy to kind of sweep in behind, a bit like Bayern Munich. You know, when they have the high line and Neuer comes in and sweeps.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't look like we're ready for that yet, and it seems like it's putting a lot of pressure on the defenders who haven't got the pace to get back. I don't know whether you think of that as well, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to say it felt like Mourinho basically just said to him, get the ball into Kane as quickly as you possibly can, and then get him behind, and Kane will just do a first-time pass over the top. Because that's how they got in the first time and how they scored their first goal, was Kane doing a first-time pass, because we knew that their front three was quicker than our defence was going to be. So that's how Burnley would do it. If Dyche has any sense, he'll go quickest ball up to the front two as possible, and then get the wingers in behind and just get flick-ons or like first-time passes in behind, and that's how Burnley will beat us.
There you go. I'll clip that bit up and I'll send it to Burnley Football Club.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll send it over. There you go. FAO, Sean Dyche, all that sort of stuff. But it's funny you mentioned that, actually, because I remember last season at the Turf, obviously we won 2-0. Burnley won 2-0. And one of the goals was literally, it came to one of our players and he was under pressure from one of your lads. I don't know who. I think Emerick Peters, and he just smashed it upfield as hard as he could. And the ball got stuck underneath one of your defenders. I can't remember it where. And it sort of like went over the top, and Ashley Barnes just came in and smashed it in. It seems sort of like a similar sort of issues that you're having now then.
Yeah, so at the start of last season, we weren't good. We weren't playing like we were at the end of last season. It seems like it's just a cycle for Southampton in the fact that we don't start seasons very well. I think since we returned to the Premier League, I think most points we've picked up in our opening 3 games, it's 6. That's the year that we had Pellegrino in charge and we nearly got relegated. So usually when we don't pick up points, it's a good season in the first 3. So hopefully it'll be the same thing, but a win on Saturday would be nice.
Yeah.
I want to look at last season. Obviously, I'm sure you get this a lot, but you turned last season around brilliantly. Like you said, you started off quite poor. Then there's the infamous 9-0 defeat against Leicester. And I remember, I worked with a Southampton fan. And I remember saying to him at the time, I said, you're down. There's no way you're going to get beat 9-0 and stay up. Nobody loses 9-0 and stays up. But you didn't just stay up. You turned everything around and you ended the season quite well, didn't you? That's why I'm surprised that you've started the season quite slowly, because in the summer, I was one of them people that were saying, I think Southampton could probably push for 10th, obviously, which is where we finished last season. But it's weird, like you say, you've not got off to the start that I expected you to get off to.
No, it seemed very... Well, the turnaround was basically back to the drawing board for Ralph. We were playing a 5 at the back system and still conceding goals. And it was kind of like, okay, at that point, let's change it up. He changed to his style that did really well at the Red Bull team, Red Bull Leipzig. It's Leipzig, isn't it? Yeah, get the nod there. And it basically, it's a 4-4-2, but the attacking midfielders aren't really wingers. They push inside, and the width comes from the fullback. So what you'll see is the back 4 isn't a straight back 4. You will get really high wing backs, and the attacking players cut into the middle. So basically become number 10. So almost the formation becomes 2-2-4-2, if that makes sense. And the width comes from those wing backs. So it's a very fluid system, and it just worked really well. It meant we could press a lot higher, and especially I think with the restart of the season, the pressing worked so well because you got 3 breaks instead of 1. So instead of just a half-time break, we could go out and press really high, have a drinks break, press again, and it just suited our system down to the ground. And we did, we got some amazing results near the end of the season, and especially beating Leicester at theirs again, using that new system really worked well for us.
I think that's the biggest disappointment of the start of the season for a lot of our fans, is the fact that we ended our last season so well, and we got to this season, there's so much excitement about it, and everyone's just sort of slumped because the first 2 results have not been what we wanted. Like, we thought we were going to beat Palace. We knew that there was always a chance that we were going to lose to Tottenham, but we had beaten City last year, so there was some excitement and some build-up about it. And to be beaten the way that we were against Palace, and the second half against Tottenham were just so hard to watch because of how we lost. It wasn't like we played well in those 2 games. The first half of the Spurs game was brilliant, and then the second half we were awful. So it was a real game of 2 halves, that one.
So what are your ambitions for the season then? I presume they've sort of like all the optimism's taken a bit of a step back now. So what are your sort of like ambitions for this season then? Because like I said, I was looking at you in the summer and saying Southampton could get top 10.
I think with an exceptional season, we will get top 10, because I think we've got a manager to do it. We've got a bit of quality in Ings. We've got Redmond and James Ward-Prowse and players like that who do have the quality to push us into the top half. But in all fairness, I think if we just have a solid season, because our seasons over the last couple of years have been major lows and major highs. We haven't had just a consistent season. So I was saying, if we just get a consistent season, come 12th to 14th, and we have no major areas that we go for, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, we did a predictor, and we were all, considering how well we played near that end of the season, we were looking at him thinking 2 new transfers in. We had Højbjerg left, but he wasn't even featuring near the end of the season. So I think the Saints fans were really optimistic, and the breakdown of fans' optimism has come back to bite us, because I think we had about 93. I don't know if you've seen it around Twitter, but our fan base was like ridiculously positive about the season, and then it's just really fallen back down again. So I think fans are really kind of unsure because it's twisted again so much. So I think we were kind of saying, we get this together, we could get top 10 this year, but I think fans are still trying to like feel it out, see where we are.
Yeah, well, especially after the start you've had, I can understand sort of like the optimism taking a bit of a step back. But yeah, you just mentioned Ings then. Obviously, used to play for us, did really well for us. Thanks to Danny Ings, we ended a hoodoo against Blackburn when he scored the winning goal. We hadn't beaten him for 34 years, I think it was. Absolute scenes. I were there, incredible. And obviously, we got promoted that year as well. Now, he didn't do too well at Liverpool because of his injuries. But obviously, I think, did he finish second in the race for the Golden Boot last season, or third or something? But he was in with the shout anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was in with the shout. He did really, really well. And it's good to see him come back, isn't it? Obviously, you'll have seen him week in, week out. I only really see him on Match of the Day. So how's he getting on? Obviously, he's scoring a lot of goals. He must be back to his best.
Yeah, and I think it's because he's probably one of the hardest workers in the team. He is defensively, he is our first point of pressing. And him and Long formed a good partnership last year. Him and Adams at the end of the season as well. They were working really, really well together because they were both pressing really high. And it's hard work off the ball, winning the ball high, and that's what allowed him to create those opportunities for himself. And that's the joy of watching Danny Ings play. It's not just a guy who's going to be poaching. It's a guy that's going to work for the team and have quality on the ball as well as off it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, he built up a lot of his confidence from nicking a lot of goals, just pressing and winning it high. And then as he grew in confidence, his finishing just matched it as well. So, some of his first goals in the season was, I think he pressed Lloris and just intercepted the ball and put it into an empty net. I mean, it's just a really, it's just his effort levels, especially near end of games, he just doesn't stop. He just keeps on going. But even the Spurs reverse fixture, he gets in behind, flicks it over the defender and hits it on the half volley. And it just shows he's just a natural finisher. And he was absolutely amazing last season, basically turned into a cult figure for Saints. And it's really nice to see him turn into the player he has, and he's also already on the score sheet this season as well. So hopefully it means he can kind of continue it into the season.
Yeah, it's one of them. I did look at Danny Ings and think that he was going to do well this season for you. And like you say, he's got on the score sheet again already. But let's have a look at the Burnley game then. What are your thoughts ahead of the Burnley game? So obviously everyone's sort of like got their opinion on Burnley and how we play and stuff, and how it's always going to be, your dogged, hard game, that sort of thing. So how do you think this game's going to go?
It's never been a good hunting ground for us as Turf Moor. We've never really gone up, especially in the Premier League. We've never gone up there and got a result. Like, I think we've got a couple of draws up there. I can't remember the last time that we actually won up there. And it does seem like when we play against a physical team like Burnley, some of our players do hide and they don't like it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again and you go on and beat us, because it's the way that we started the season, and we probably won't get a reaction from the Tottenham game. So
I think one more thing. Oh, yeah. I was just going to say one more thing to add. Yeah, all right. I was just going to say one more thing to add to that is that our depth in our squad is really low at the moment, and we're still in the transfer market trying to find a couple of players. But in terms of depth, it is just youth players on the bench, really. So if they get brought into the game to try and make an impact, I can see them, like Mike said, kind of getting lost in the game, because they're not the biggest, they're not the tallest, so they might kind of get out-muscled if they do get brought into a physical game. So if we don't kind of hit the game well and we need to rely on subs, I don't really see them making too much of an impact. I'd be happy if they prove me wrong, but yeah, just it doesn't seem like we've got much depth in the bench.
Yeah, it seemed like you're in quite a similar position to us. Against Leicester, we had Jimmy Dunn and Kevin Long starting at the back. Jimmy Dunn he'd never played for the club before last week when he played against Sheffield United in the Carabao Cup. Then he made his first Premier League debut against Leicester, and that's partly why we got beat. I mean, it's a very unlikely Burnley performance, conceding 4 goals. So I think if we still don't have Tarky back, Ben Mee's not going to be back. But if we still don't have James Tarkowski back, then I think it could be. You might have some joy, put it that way, with Danny Ings against them too. But I think Tarky will be a lot better for us and things like that. So fingers crossed that we've got Tarky back. But I'll just get some predictions off you two guys then. What are you going to predict? Don't get me wrong. You don't need. When I go on other team podcasts, even like your Liverpools and your Man City's, I'm always like, "Now we'll win. Just to be a little bit more. Feel free to do that.
If we took a draw, I'd be more than happy with that, and I think it's going to be a 2-2. I think there will be a couple of goals, but I think if we got 2-2, I'd be smiling. I'd be happy with that.
I'll just say 2-1 Southampton, because you're always going to be optimistic, because otherwise there's no point in watching the game, is there?
Okay, nice.
No, it's funny that you just said 2-2 though, Ollie, and I've just said 2-2. I think you'll score, but looking at your defensive frailties, I think we'll score as well. We need Dwight McNeil to have a good game. We need Chris Wood. Chris Wood always has good. He just finishes goals. That's just what he does. He just finishes his chances, should I say? But we kind of need Ings to be quiet. But we need, if we had a back two of Tarky and Ben Mee, I'd be going to this game thinking, we'll keep things quiet and we'll be fine. But with Kevin Long and Jimmy Dunn, I'm a little bit worried. But I said 2-2 earlier. If we have them two at the back, if we have Tarky back, I'm thinking maybe 3-1, something like that. I think we'll we won't keep Ings quiet for the full game. I think he'll score. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming on Turfcast podcast anyway, boys. And enjoy the game.
Yeah, cheers. You too.
But not too much. Right, so there you go. Thanks to the guys from the Saints Prime podcast for coming on the Turfcast podcast, and hopefully you will see them again at the return fixture. Fingers crossed the season isn't postponed anything, but I'm not really thinking it is. But that's pretty much it from me and Simon this week. Simon, I hope you've enjoyed coming on again.
Always.
You know what? I'm going to discuss an idea I have on the podcast. I'll only discuss these ideas off the podcast with you or with friends or even people on the Discord. If you haven't already, please join the Turfcast podcast Discord. We have it's slowly growing, but we've got a few. The watch along gang are in there. Like I said, Neil Layfield and Quilter's in there. Simon is in there as well. But you need to get back on it, mate. Come on. So more people get involved, and then we'll chat to. Look at that eye roll. He's fuming. He's absolutely fuming. But anyway, the plan that I have, I said to you off your phone. I said to you last week that I want to start doing 2 shows a week, right? Now, obviously, we're both very busy, so it's going to be difficult to get you. It's difficult to get you in a room once a week, mate. Never mind 3 times a week. So obviously, the watch along is a show as well. This is a show, and now what I want to start doing is the Southampton thing that I've just done with the Southampton guy. Should I do that? Get in touch with your responses, people listening and viewing and stuff. Should I get this Southampton fan, or obviously the next game after that, should I get the opposition team on and put it out as a standalone show, stream it on Facebook, like maybe 2-3 hours before the game as like a pre-match sort of thing? What are you thinking?
I think that you should do, it'd be really cool if you could do that, if you could premiere it. If you can't do it live, we'll premiere it.
Yeah. The reason why I ask is because I went on a Leicester one last week at like 12 o'clock, like 8 hours before the game. What time did the Leicester game kick off? It was 7, weren't it? Something like that. I can't remember. So 7-8 hours before the game. And I really enjoyed it. And fair enough, he had 125,000 followers on Facebook. Which is insane, by the way. But yeah, we're getting some good numbers. So let us know what you think, viewers, because this is your podcast as much as it is ours as well. So if you think that would be a good idea, hopefully, Simon, you're not busy, are you, Simon? I'm not keeping you from Otto, mate. Are you just...
No, I'm trying to sign into Discord, but it's just I'm doing like a million. You know them capture things where it says like mark the card.
Yeah.
I've done it like 7 times now, and I've still not got past it.
Well, I've put you in a group on it. You are in the watch along gang. For God's sake, I've messed up my words so many times today. But yeah, let us know if you think that's a good idea. I'll start doing these interviews with the opposition fans and putting them out with as a standalone thing and call it sort of like pre-match. Let me know if you think that's a good idea, and if you do, we'll start doing it for potentially the next round of the Carabao Cup if we're in it. And that might just sound silly because you will all know the result by now. If not, we'll do it for the next Premier League game. So there we go. Fingers crossed we can get that done. Simon, your thought? You like that idea though?
I think it's a cool idea. I think sort of like getting.
You don't have to do anything. I'll just do it, and you just go, yeah, look at that. That's good.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think basically get your people interactive with it as well. It'd be very cool.
Right, so there you have it. Thank you for listening / watching. If you're watching on Facebook on Friday night, thank you for that as well. You can support Turfcast if you're watching on Facebook by sending us some Facebook stars. You're in Discord. Happy days, right? Get some chatting in there. You won't know what you're doing yet, though, to be fair. But please follow us on all the social media channels with Turfcast Podcast on all the social media channels. If you want to join the Discord server, then head over to our Twitter. The link is in the bio on there. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you next week. But I think Simon's just got one more thing to say. You don't know what you're doing, do you?
You're called Turfcast Joe. Am I meant to be Turfcast Simon as well? I'm
Turfcast Joe on it. I ain't changed your name on it because you've not been on it yet.
How do I do it?
I can do it for you. You can do it as well. You can work Discord out off air. But thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you for what the hell? Simon's got a cabbage. If you're listening on the podcast, he's just showed the cabbage on camera with sunglasses on. What? Actually, that's the point. Why have you got a cabbage in your bedroom? Is that sexual?
I wish, mate. I don't get in my own bedroom half the days. I don't know what it's here. I've got 3 kids, though, so they'll have something to do with it.
Yeah, probably. But thanks everybody for watching, and I've had to sign off for quite a long time now. Hopefully we'll get it done this time. If you're not already, please follow us and everything, and we will see you next week. Bye.